that much point. That's what happened. I wasn't he hurt. That was way up like now it's the shooter part. I just walk around. I can feel it. I'm
Alright, so question number 7 on the reading guide is about the weighted mean. It's the second mean type that was discussed there in the reading. So, what is a weighted mean?
It means that way. It means something. A weighted mean. I think the weighted
See folks with their reading guides completed, but nobody's sharing what weight. The GPA.
The notion of weighted
Oh,
mean.
hold on. You have somebody answering. Alexandra, what are you saying? Okay. So there's this weight thing that we're going to multiply by, which is true. What does this weight thing mean? You don't have it written, number 7. That's what we're trying to answer, is number 7. Say again? We were trying to figure out what it is. What were you reading that?
When certain data values have a higher importance or weight associated with it.
Okay, so it's a situation where some of the data values that are in our list are more important than other data values. Okay? So it's a situation where each point is not weighted the same.
So they just vary in value.
So the values may be the same or not, but their importance to the situation varies. And so that means that they're given more power, if you will, in finding the mean. What is an example of weighted mean?
GPA.
Yes, GPA is an example of that. So very fitting, we just got our report card yesterday, talked about how one officially calculates GPA. Now I'm sure you probably did that little thing in homeroom, talking about your GPA right now. Here's the thing, they've simplified that process a little bit, right? For 2 reasons. First of all, in high school, all of your classes are 1 credit apiece. Everything is kind of weighted the same. Now there is more importance, if you will, given to say honors classes or AP classes, so that in some ways reflects the GPA weighted mean concept. But if you think about going on to a college situation, all classes are not weighted the same based on the amount of time or the credits that are applied to that class. So we'll talk more about that and how one will actually calculate a GPA when you head off to those higher institutions. So of course there's a formula associated with it. So here's the formula. Hopefully you have that down there in 8, 9, 10. Of course, formula very similar to what we looked at for approximate mean. So the process is fairly similar. Just obviously different symbols that we use to represent different things. And of course, if you recall, we just did the welcome work. We multiplied stuff together, we added stuff, we divided stuff. So again, the process very similar. So of course we have all these symbols. Again, let's review. So we have these 2 big guys here. What are they for? Symbols, so we're going to add some stuff up. And so if you might recall, all of the formulas that we looked at that had these add stuff up pretty much meant we needed to do some sort of table. So we'll do a table. Excuse me again. Then of course we have our XI's. What are those? Individual data points. Now the good news here is means that, with the approximate mean, we have to find a midpoint to represent that. We don't have to do that here. So the individual size will be given to us in some way. We don't actually do any extra calculating there. And then last but not least, we have these WIs. And what do they represent?
Weight, I think.
Weights, and those I's would probably mean?
Individual weight.
So it's the individual weight. So of course, obviously, if we're doing something called a weight and a mean, we need to have these weights involved in some way. So the formula, of course, we're going to multiply our individual data points and our individual weights. And of course, there's the sum there, so we're going to add those up. Of course, our denominator, we're also adding up the weights, 5 and 2, so that we can find our mean. Now, like I said, one of the good things here is that we don't have to calculate midpoints, which takes up a little time. Also, these numbers tend to be smaller. The tables also tend to be smaller, so it's not as time-consuming as the approximate mean. Questions about the formula? Or all right, so we'll take a look at a couple examples. You may have filled up your back with the approximate stuff, which is fine. So just like that sheet of paper that works. Write down a few examples here. Or the weighted mean. Now, obviously, the paragraph tells us that we're going to calculate a GPA for Troy, so I don't think it's super important that you write down that paragraph. The table, obviously, is where the important is. Feel free to abbreviate a little bit in your classes if you want. One more here. Obviously, we have each class and the grade associated with it. Fairly straightforward. And then we have a column labeled the credits. In college, the credits that a course is worth is typically related to the amount of time you actually spend in that course. So your average college course meets for about 3 hours a week. So your typical college course is 3 credits. How does that 3 hours look? Well, in a lot of cases, maybe you meet Monday, Wednesday, Friday for an hour. So there's your 3 credits. If it's Tuesday, Thursday class, might be for an hour and a half of days. Or there are some situations where your class may meet all 3 hours at once on one day, particularly if you're looking at a community college class. Sometimes those happen that way. So again, the credits and the hours which are in the class are generally correlated to one another. Now, you'll notice here we have biology plus lab, which is 4 credits. I would suspect you actually spend probably more than an extra hour just in the lab class, but obviously you don't want to make your class so many credits that its importance to your grade becomes astronomical. So for instance, when I was in college, I had my chemistry course, which was 3 credits, and then there was a separate lab class that I had to take. It was worth 2 credits. That course actually met for 4 hours on Wednesday and 4 hours on Friday. So it would be extremely, I would say, causing an effect to your grade if that course was worth the 8 credits that you actually spent in class. Obviously, we talked about the fact that we need to have our weights and we need to have our individual data points in order to make our product column. We multiply together. And you'll notice that we have our credits already. Credits, of course, is that are correlated to the hours, and that gives the class the importance. So in these scenarios, the credits, or the hours, are the weights of the classes. Now, obviously, in order to multiply, I need to have a number to multiply by. Right now, I only have one column of numbers. And that's where the grade value comes in. Obviously, grades, A, B, C, need to have some kind of number associated with them. And so typically, I'll give you the whole numbers associated with them. So A's are worth what? B's are worth? C's. Okay, so the grade value is based on the actual grade that you earn in the class. And the grade value is representative of our individual data points. Now, you could run into a situation in college where you actually have an institution that cares about pluses and minuses. So in those cases, something like A minus would be weighted at a 3.67. B plus would be weighted as a 3.3. You have your B at 3. B minus would be a 2.67. So sometimes people do differentiate from just the simple 4, 3, 2, 1 scale. All right, so now we have two columns of numbers. We can now finally do our product. So we can multiply our xi's and our wi's as our numerator in our formula states we need to do. And you can see, of course, again, like I said, numbers a lot easier to work with here. All right, so we've done the product. What do we need to do next? All right, so what comes with data? Credits, yep, and products. So those are the two things that we're going to add up here. I believe we get 13 over here. 43. And then the last step. So our mean, which in this case is representative of our GPA, will be found by taking 43 divided by 13. And I believe you get something right around 3.3. The weighted mean is the actual mean for this scenario. The approximate mean is what we're kind of guessing is the mean because we don't have the actual data values. Same basic process, right? Which is why they put them together in a section. Other questions on this one? Now, aside from the GPA, which obviously is a little bit important here in high school, very important as you go to college, there are other things that we do here in school that are also weighted means. Namely, your grade is also a weighted mean. So you can see here I have the rating policy right off of our syllabus there. And so we have the different categories that we place assignments into. And those assignment categories all have their weights. So of course, the most highly weighted in our performance tasks, homework classwork, and our quizzes. Those are the different activities that we do. Kind of participation, but it's more the activities that we, when we pull out, I think one that we did. We have those little people cards, we had them in the bag and we shook them up and all that. When we do that thing on weather, where we did like the back-to-back stem and leaf block, regular stem and leaf block, and all that, those are all performance tests. Now you'll notice that I left the grade blank here because we're going to decide what the typical student average is in this grade. And so by the time we're done with this, you'll be able to see what the computer actually does when it calculates your grade. So it's very often they get those questions about, well, if I fail on the test, and then I do all my homework, what will I get in my grade? Well, we'll figure that out. I'll use these process. That's for our classes. Now, when it comes to each of these different categories, Synergy will go through and just find the average of each of these. So, whatever points are at each assignment, that'll find the average, which is the basic average that one would do, like normal, adding up everything, dividing by how many there are. So, a typical student, what do you think their test average would be? See, you need a number.
86.
86. How about our performance tests? Okay, so
95.
95, all right.
Homework, 91. It's a great 82.
82. 275.
Quizzes?
And then finally quizzes.
Whoa!
Whoa!
83.
83.
That's a great student.
That's a pretty good student, yeah.
It's not
Alright, so now looking at these two columns, which of these columns represents our WIs? Weight, right, because it's weight, just it's the weighted mean, so that's the weight. And so these are our individual data points. And so that will multiply them together. Or he didn't make these numbers nice, but I can do it if I can. Alright, so what do we need to add up? Same old thing. What's same old thing? Afraid jump and jump is not going to
So you got
an answer.
add the product and the grade, right?
Okay, product, what else?
Grade.
Weights. Yes. WI. WI is the denominator.
So it's 100.
Yes, because our weight should add it to 100, right? That's 100% per grade. What's other stuff?
75. Divided by
About 100.
870.
I don't think so.
Excuse me.
So I don't think you have a grade of 870.
87. Oh.
Okay, so it appears this person would end up with an 87%. Questions about our grade? Now, let's be sitting there thinking that the weighted mean only has applications in school. It does not. These actually come up a lot in applications of food. If you are someone who owns a restaurant, maybe a catering business, it's very important to determine how much each plate of food costs, so that you know how much to charge for that plate of food. Okay? You don't want to be charging too little, you're not making any profit. Obviously, you also don't want to be charging so much, nobody wants to buy the food. So the final example that we have here, about lasagna. So in this case, we're trying to determine the cost per pound overall of a slice of lasagna. Now, you'll notice here that I don't have a table already here. That's because most of the time, actually, these problems are just paragraph form. And so you have to kind of set up the table yourself. And so the first step in the process, obviously, is kind of reading the words and putting it down in table format. Now, you don't technically have to include each of the items, like the names of the classes or whatever, but I like to do that just so I can go back and reference in case I make a mistake or something. So as I'm reading along here, we have lasagna that starts out with 1 pound of noodles costing $1.78. So I have my noodles. I have 1 pound of them, and their cost was $1.78. Next we have 2 pounds of ground beef at $3.50 per pound. Then we come up to the sauce. I have lots of tasty sauce. Then of course we have the 2 different kinds of cheeses. Yep.
No.
Well, let's finish this example. So all I've done at this point, read the paragraph, taken the various elements out of the paragraph and put them into the table. Now, of the columns, let's go over them in a moment. Which one represents our weight?
Good pounds, right?
Obviously, pounds are a measurement of weight. So, here's our weights. Those are our size. So now we need to multiply. Alright, so now we come up to the part where we need to sum. What 2 columns do we need to sum? Okay. So 2, 4, 7, 10. Make sure I didn't mess it up. I'm not really gifted with the math.
Oh, that's what, that's the most important thing.
So it looks like per pound, our lasagna costs about $2.38. Now, obviously, if I'm a restaurant owner or someone who owns a catering business, I'm not going to charge $2.38 for a pound of lasagna, because I got to consider other costs. I got to pay the people who work for me. Got to pay for equipment, keeping the lights on, water bill, all that kind of stuff. It's a catering business, you got to pay for the vehicle, gas, all that kind of stuff. So you're going to up that a little bit. Plus, for your restaurant, you give out those free breadsticks. Got to pay for them somehow. So we'll roll that into the cost as well. But this at least tells you now how much it costs per pound. and adjust from there to make sure that you have everything you need.
So are you here? Where are you?
Now, the last thing that's there on our reading guide, one final thing that we talked about there, and that was the standard deviation. Okay, so there's a formula for that as well in the reading. And you'll notice that it's fairly similar to the standard deviation formula that we know. We have each of our individual data points, we're subtracting them each, we have to square them, we have to sum them up. But there's an additional part, and that's multiplying by the frequencies. So you can see, before we actually do the adding here in the numerator, we have to multiply by each individual frequency for our group data. And then in our denominator, how many there are the total frequencies. Well, here's the thing, folks. This process, before we even got the frequencies involved, was long. If you want to put the frequencies on top of that, that adds a whole nother, couple minutes to the problem. And so there are definitely computer programs that we can set up, like Excel, for instance, to have it do these calculations for us. So there's absolutely no reason why we will ever need to do this by hand. Okay? So even though we have a list of the steps that you would actually complete if you were doing it by hand, we are not going to do it by hand. Okay? So just know that it exists. You can calculate an approximate standard deviation, but we are not going to go through that process. Okay? Too much time for not a whole lot of benefit. So that won't be on the test. That would not be on the test. Questions about that? All right, so at this point, we're going to take the opportunity to practice a little bit. See if we've got a good handle on these approximate means and weighted means. So on page 162, 163, I'd like you to work on number 3, number 9, and number 11.
Hey, Sean.
While you are doing that, I will bring your quiz grade around so you can see how you did on the quiz from last class. Any questions? All right.
Oh, yeah, when you try to move you, last year, the car was in my
Give me some.